So there I was, 18 years old, standing on a high school playground, about to find out what I'd be for the rest of my life. And the answer the universe picked for me was skeletons. A lot of skeletons. Let me back up. My name is Lin Moyu. On paper, I'm a quiet kid from Shihai City, top of my class, barely says 3 words a week, kind of scary to be around. That last part is fair. What nobody at that school knew is that I'm not actually from here. I died once already, on a different world, as an orphan with no family and no friends and nothing to my name. Then I woke up in this body, in this world, with this body's memories and this body's people. A grandma, a big sister, a photo on the wall of 3 people smiling in the sun. Grandma died 2 years ago. My sister left for the big academy a year ago. So now it's just me, the photo, and a house with no furniture. And I've got exactly one goal in this second life. Get strong enough to reach my sister. That's it. That's the whole plan. This world runs on a game. Real world, real blood, real dying, but game rules bolted on top. Monsters everywhere. Dungeons, abysses, secret realms. When you hit your senior year, you change jobs. The magic circle scans you and hands you a class. And that class is your future. Combat classes are the jackpot. Support is fine. Life classes, the farmers and chefs and blacksmiths, are the ones everyone quietly pities. The success rate is 100%. The only question is whether the dice love you or hate you. Principal Lu Yun lined up 100+ of us on the field and gave the speech. Work hard, become pillars of the race. Be like the legendary holy mage who once sat in these exact seats. Standard graduation day noise. Then he started calling names. First guy up, bright flash. Farmer. His face just kind of folded in on itself. Next up, chef. That kid was actually thrilled. Said his dad was a chef too, following in the family footsteps. Good for him, honestly. Someone's got to feed the skeleton army later. One after another, they went up. And one after another, the circle spat out life classes. A farmer here, a chef there, a tailor, a couple of support types if the room was lucky. The principals watching from their little tea table started making the faces people make when the harvest is bad. Not a single rare class. Old Lu was sweating. Then they called Xia Shui. Now, Xia Shui is a whole thing. Campus goddess, rich family, the Xia clan, big deal in the province. Also my personal shadow for 3 straight years, because in every single exam I came first and she came second. And she has never, not once, been okay with it. She walked past me on her way to the circle and shot me this look. The look that says, I'm going to bury you today. The circle lit up. 2 giant fireballs rose out of the light and burst like fireworks. Rare combat class. Elemental mage. The whole field lost it. Old Lu nearly cried. Xia Shui stepped down, glowing like she'd already won the war, bowed to the array master, did the whole gracious genius routine. And I get it. Elemental mage is genuinely terrifying at high levels. She earned the moment. Then they called me. The array master, a level 52 old man who'd seen it all, looked me over and said, aside from being unusually calm, nothing special. Fair read. I stepped into the circle, and the sky went dark. Not metaphor, actual dark. Bright afternoon, and suddenly it's midnight. Cold wind ripping in from every direction. Dark clouds boiling overhead like the world was ending. People started backing up. Then the sharp-eyed kid screamed the thing that would define my whole life. They're skeletons! The clouds are full of skeletons! He was right. Thousands of them, packed shoulder to shoulder in the black clouds, soul fire burning in every skull. One little flame peeled off, drifted down, and landed on me. And then, everything snapped back to normal like nothing happened. Unique hidden class. Necromancer. Not rare. Hidden. And not just hidden, unique hidden, which means there is exactly one in the entire world, and there will never be a second one unless I die first. Rarer than rare. Rarer than legendary. Which sounds incredible until you hear the peanut gallery. Necromancer, so he plays with dead people all day? Perfect for him. He barely talks to living people anyway. Standard classmate behavior, honestly. I stepped off the circle, keeping my face flat, because rule number 1 my sister drilled into me, never let it show. Shocked, thrilled, terrified, doesn't matter. Keep it inside. Why wear it on your face? The array master called me back and asked for a demo. So I summoned my very first skeleton. Let me describe this thing for you. It crawled out of a black vortex wrapped in soul fire, and it looked like it had been personally fished out of a landfill. Gray bones, cracks everywhere, a sword so chipped and rusted it looked like it lost a fight with a dumpster. Black iron tier, the absolute bottom rung. 4 stats of 15 apiece. A stiff breeze could have retired it. The array master flicked a finger at it to test the reaction, and my junkyard skeleton's eyes flared red, ready to swing back. The old man just smiled. "Very vigilant," he said. Then he told me to work hard. I might make something of myself someday. My boy Gao Yang came over to poke it. Gao Yang is the one guy in that whole school who treated me like a person instead of a walking horror movie. Big, loud, shameless, funny. He touched the skeleton, asked if it was strong. I told him it was probably stronger than him. He didn't believe me. Then he got called up to the circle and pulled Sword and Shield Knight, advanced combat class. Exactly what he'd been dreaming about out loud all morning. He ran back yelling, "I told you I'd be a knight," slapped my shoulder, and tried to hit me with an inspirational line. "If you want to kill me, step over your dead body." I told him he had it backwards. He gasped like I'd handed him a winning lottery ticket. "You finally spoke." I said it backwards on purpose, did you notice? He did not say it backwards on purpose. What a clown. That night I went home to the empty house, made myself some food, sat with a photo. Me, a pretty young woman, an old woman with white hair, all three smiling 3 years ago, back when this face still knew how to do that. Grandma, gone. Sister, gone to Xiajing Academy, the one place I now had to reach. And then, alone in that quiet room, holding the one thing I brought across worlds with me, a little red gem in my left palm, the sky in my head lit up with a voice. Host detected, Necromancer awakened, binding the strongest talent system, extracting the world's essence, optimizing. The gem in my hand vanished. Congratulations! Unique, God-level talent unlocked, comprehensive amplification, and a passive skill, damage transfer. I don't get shocked. My sister trained the flinch out of me. But I sat there staring at my own stats and, just for a second, my face slipped. Comprehensive amplification, level 1. Increases the effect of all my skills by 10 times. 10 times. Everything. And the passive, damage transfer. Every point of damage I take gets dumped onto my summons instead. Which means, as long as one skeleton is still standing, I do not die. To kill me, you first have to kill every single skeleton I own. Give me a few thousand of these junkyard boys, and I am, functionally, a cockroach that cannot be stepped on. 2 skills, both of them, and I'm using the technical term here, absolutely disgusting. I summoned a fresh black iron skeleton to check the numbers. Same landfill aesthetic, same chipped sword, same gray bones. You'd never know from looking. But the stats. A normal level 1 black iron skeleton has 15 in each stat. Mine had 150. Across the board. Strength, agility, spirit, and the big one, constitution, which is basically its health and armor rolled together. Times 10. Instantly. A 1-day-old skeleton hitting like a level 7 knight, plus my cockroach passive stapled on top. I stood in my furnitureless little house at midnight, running the math, and I understood something. The junkyard sword didn't matter. The gray bones didn't matter. My sister was 1,000 kilometers away behind the hardest gate in the empire, and I had just been handed the one ladder that could actually get me there. So I summoned 2 more skeletons, told them to stand guard, and sat down to meditate. Meditation restores my mental energy and doubles as sleep, which is convenient because sleep is for people as special aren't the single weakest link in an otherwise unkillable army. More on that later. The next morning, we bust out to the newbie dungeon. Every job changer in Zhai City funnels through the same starter dungeon, a big grassland stuffed with weak monsters, levels 1 through 8, specifically designed so baby professionals can learn to fight without dying. Safe, gentle, nurturing even. The kind of place you clear in a couple days if you're a prodigy. Before we went in, the whole solo versus team debate kicked off because the healers, mostly nervous girls, took one look at my landfill skeleton and its cold, dead soulfire eyes and decided, very reasonably, that they would rather not. No team for me, which was perfect because I wanted to solo anyway. Solo levels faster. Jia Zhui actually backed me up on the math, explained the whole experience split thing to Gao Yang like a professor, and it was the most civil the two of us had been in 3 years. For the record, in 3 years of being classmates, Jia Zhui and I have exchanged a grand total of 16 sentences. I counted. She does not know I counted. It comes up later. At the gate, she leaned over and threw down the gauntlet. Let's see who levels faster. I didn't answer. She took my silence as a yes, tossed her hair, and marched in. Strong competitive spirit, that one. So here's how soloing works when you're me. I dropped 4 skeletons and told them to go find things to kill. They scattered in 4 directions, agility 150, moving like the wind, and the notifications started immediately. Rabbit dead, rabbit dead, rabbit dead. Every level 1 monster in the grass just deleted itself on contact. My skeletons weren't just murder machines either. Everywhere they walked, a map drew itself in my head. Automatic cartography. I hired a cleaning crew and got a GPS for free. An hour in, I'd basically stopped participating. I summoned more skeletons whenever my mental bar refilled, sat down, and let the payroll do the killing. Half an hour, and I dinged level 2. Every level, the skeletons got a flat 100-point bump per stat because base plus my 10 times talent turns small numbers into stupid numbers. By the time I had 10 skeletons fanned out across the map, level 5 and 6 monsters were dying just as fast as the rabbits. One strike, no suspense, no pain. Riveting lifestyle. Outside, the principals were at their tea table making bets on how far we'd get on day 1. The all-time record was level 5, held by the legendary Holy Mage, also held by my sister, last year, before she went off and became a whole legend of her own. Xia Xue's dad, the Xia clan leader himself, rolled up to watch because he'd missed her job change and wasn't about to miss her first dungeon. Everyone assumed the rare elemental mage would be the story of the day. Meanwhile, deep in the dungeon, my skeletons hit their leash limit, 500 meters, and pinged me. Turns out they can't wander further than that from me. So I stopped being a hands-off manager, got up, and started walking the map myself. Skeletons fanned out ahead like a plow through wheat. 4 hours in, level 4. The leveling didn't slow down as I added skeletons. It sped up. More murderers, more density, same kill speed, and the experience just kept climbing. Then I hit the forest at the back of the dungeon, the end of the road, where the level 8 monsters live, the only ones in here that aren't nerfed, tuned to be exactly as nasty as the wild outside, so baby pros get a preview of the real thing. A branch whipped out and cracked me across the body, fast. No time to react, felt nothing. Damage transfer ate it whole, and passed the bill to a skeleton. Whiplash tree, level 8. Sits perfectly still, ambushes anything alive that walks past, and completely ignores my skeletons. Because skeletons aren't alive. Clever design, honestly. A monster that can't chase you, so a nervous newbie can always back out of range and live. Everything about that starter dungeon was built to protect the kids. I could respect it. I also had no intention of using the mercy it was offering. I sent a skeleton in to slap the tree first. That woke it up, and it whipped back 3-4 times a second, metal clanging off bone. And for the first time all day, one strike didn't kill. My skeleton had to swing 4 times. First creature in the whole dungeon to survive contact for more than a second. The forest was wall to wall with these things. Hundreds visible to the naked eye. No searching required. A leveling paradise built by accident just for me. 10 hours after I walked in, I walked out the front gate. Old Lou jogged over, confused, because the timer wasn't up. Moyu? Why are you out? I told him the truth. Once they're all killed, they come out. He blinked at me. Didn't compute. Then he saw my level, and his brain just stopped. Level 7. The previous record was 5. Nobody in the history of the starter dungeon had ever cleared it out, because it resets every entry and it's full of inexperienced kids. I'd emptied the entire thing, level 8 forest and all, in under 10 hours. I mentioned there just weren't enough monsters left, or I'd have hit 8. And could I please get a permit to go level outside the city walls? He agreed on autopilot, still buffering. He went back to the tea table and told the other principals. There was a collective gasp you could have heard from space. The Xia clan leader, a man who has genuinely seen everything, sat there stunned. Somebody floated the theory that Necromancer might quietly be stronger than every known rare class, maybe legendary tier. Nobody could say for sure. Nobody had ever seen one. Xia Xue came out of the dungeon at the end of her 12 hours. Level 5. Tied the all-time record. Genuinely huge. She was already celebrating, already sure she'd won our little race. And then she spotted me meditating off to the side and froze like she'd grabbed a live wire. How is that possible? How did he reach level 7? Her dad broke the news gently on the drive home. Not only level 7, he cleared every level 8 monster in the place and came out 2 hours early. She deflated like a popped balloon, muttered that I was awful, and then, 2 minutes later, relit herself from the inside. I will never admit defeat. Even if you're ahead now, I'll surpass you. Her dad loved it. That's exactly the daughter he wanted. On the bus, Gao Yang broadcast my level to the entire vehicle at maximum volume, because subtlety is a skill he did not job change into. And suddenly the whole bus was buzzing. People who'd spent 3 years keeping their distance were now doing the math on how to get close to the scary skeleton kid, because that's just how people are around strength. A few worked up the nerve. Then they'd glance at the soulfire eyes and think better of it. Gao Yang, of course, had no such filter. Begged me to carry him through leveling. I told him if there's a chance, sure. He was overjoyed. Settled, he said. The next morning he showed up at the school gate to collect on that promise and found out I'd already left for the wilderness outside the city. That's when it hit him that if there's a chance, had been doing a lot of quiet work. I heard he screamed my name across the whole courtyard. Something about offering his heart to the moon and the moon shining on a gutter. Something about a duel. I was already gone. There was a wall to get past, and a sister to get to, and a whole world outside the city that hadn't met my skeletons yet. The wall is the whole point of Shihai City. On one side, humans. On the other side, everything that wants to eat humans. The weakest thing out there is level 10, 3 whole levels above me, which is why the gate guard checked my permit twice, gave me the worried uncle speech about running away being fine and your life mattering more than your face, and let me through, shaking his head. Before that, I stopped by the exchange. Picture a hall full of stone pillars, each one topped with a magic crystal. And through those crystals you can buy, sell, and take jobs, all run by the empire itself. I put my hand on one. Verified. Citizen. Contribution 0. Permissions. Level 1. The lowest rung of the lowest ladder. I had about 100 gold coins to my name, which wasn't enough to buy the cheapest black iron sword in the building. So I did what broke people do. I browsed, memorized what materials sold for, and left. One job on the board caught my eye though. Some guild wanted the crystal core of the Goblin King, the boss of the West Sea mine dungeon, and they were paying 100,000 gold for it. That's a lot of money for a rock. Filed it away. Walked out the gate. The moment I stepped past the wall, the air changed. Colder. Heavier. That specific weight you feel when the world stops pretending it likes you. Beast roars in the distance, the mist swallowing everything behind me. 2 worlds, 1 wall. I dropped a skeleton and pointed it at the nearest thing with a pulse. Goblin Scout, level 10, strength 120, thick skin, dumb as a brick, swinging a spiked club. My skeleton stood there, ate the club shot, wobbled about a centimeter, and then opened the goblin up like a can. 5 stabs and the thing was a puddle. 300 experience, plus goblin bones, which go straight into my bag for selling later. Even the smallest mosquito is still meat, so I let the whole crew off the leash. 28 skeletons, fanning out across a monster field way denser than the starter dungeon, and the notifications started coming in like a comments section. Goblin dead, wolf dead, goblin dead, level 10 monsters folding like laundry. An hour and I hit level 8. The map painted itself in my head as I walked. Kill, loot, map, repeat. And I never lifted a finger except to point. A couple of pros in the distance noticed my skeletons casually murdering level 10 goblins and started sniffing around for the summoner. I recalled the skeletons before anyone could connect the dots and drifted deeper into the woods, where the terrain's ugly and the ambushes are worse and normal people don't go. My skeletons don't care about terrain. They don't trip. They don't get scared. They don't get tired. A mage runs out of mana. A knight runs out of gas. Everybody needs a nap eventually, not my junkyard boys. As long as they exist, they run forever. By afternoon, I was level 9, 40 skeletons deep, and I'd wandered a lot further from the city than I meant to. Level 11, 12, 13 monsters started showing up, and none of it mattered. You can't cut my skeletons. My skeletons can cut you. That's the whole matchup. Simple. Then, in a quiet stretch of forest, an arrow went past my eye. Then several more. One hit me, and an invisible film flickered, ate the shot, and dumped the damage onto a skeleton, and I felt exactly nothing. A figure in black burst out of the trees moving fast, saw me, spun on a dime, and vanished the other way. Assassin, clearly. 2 seconds later, an archer and a mage came tearing through, chasing. They ignored me and blew right past. Then they came back, because the person in black had faked them out and changed direction, and they'd lost the trail. The archer looked at me, asked if a person in black had run by. I didn't answer. I just said, calmly, that his arrow had hit me and that it wouldn't happen again. He apologized, a little confused, like he couldn't figure out why a level 10 kid was talking down to him. The mage, meanwhile, clocked my undead skeleton, curled his lip in disgust, and started to raise his staff. My skeleton's eyes went red. The archer grabbed his friend's arm. Don't start something. The mage sulked, lowered the staff, and they left. I watched them go and said quietly, consider yourselves lucky, because I'm not a saint. Somebody bullies me, I pay it back 100 to 1. They just didn't know how close they'd come. That night I lit a campfire, because I had nowhere to be and no reason to walk back. The forest at night is loud in the wrong ways. Wolves somewhere, wind in the leaves, and it's colder wherever I am, because 40 skeletons standing in the dark turn a night breeze into a meat locker draft. Great for summer, bad for ambiance. Middle of the night, a skeleton pinged me. Someone was coming. It was her. The person in black. She walked into my firelight, pulled down her mask, and turned out to be a girl about my age with big, bright eyes and, apparently, the manners of a stray cat. Because her opening line was, "Do you have any food?" I handed her a sweet potato. It was the only thing I'd packed. Sweet potatoes and water. She didn't complain. She tore into it like she hadn't eaten in 2 days, which, as it turned out, she basically hadn't. Then she choked on it, coughed like she was dying, and I handed her the water bottle. She drank, recovered, said thanks, ate the rest slowly, sneaking these little glances at me the whole time like she was working something out. When she finished, she asked my name. I didn't answer. She sighed, said fine, let's just scan each other, and we both threw detection spells. Mine bounced off her and came back with nothing. She giggled, extremely pleased with herself. Then she read mine out loud. So your name's Lin Moyu, level 10, class Necromancer? Never heard of it. Weird. She peppered me with questions, one after another, barely breathing between them. Why won't you talk? Are you mute? You don't look mute. I asked her one word. Why? Her whole face lit up like she'd found a new continent. So you can talk, I asked again. Why? Meaning, why did my scan get nothing? She pulled out a badge. Shield badge, she explained. Wear it, and nobody more than 10 levels below you can scan you. She put it away, dropped the block, and let me try again. Ning Yi Yi, level 19, Shadow Assassin. And the second I read it, the wind shifted, and both of us went still, because my skeletons had already spotted the visitors. The archer and the mage from earlier were back, and this time they'd brought a knight. 3 of them, surrounding us from 3 directions. Ning Yi Yi's face pinched up. It never ends. It's just one intermediate skill scroll, and they've been chasing me for days. She stamped her foot, told me she was leaving and she'd find me again sometime. An arrow cracked out of the dark. She dodged it clean, but it burst on impact and split into 2 lights, one branding her, one branding me. A big, glowing mark bloomed over both our heads, bright as a headlamp. A marking arrow. It locks a target so they can't stealth and can't hide. Death to an assassin. Her face went white. You can't escape this time, the mage laughed, stepping out of the trees. The archer perched in a tree overhead. The knight sealed the last exit. The mage looked us over and said the meanest thing he had in the tank. A filthy rat assassin paired with an evil undead summoner. Good match. Ning Yi Yi flicked out a glowing dagger. She tried to buy me off the hook, offered them the scroll, told them I had nothing to do with this. The archer chuckled from his branch. A day ago, sure. Now they figured it was cleaner to just kill us both, because dead people don't tell anyone you're carrying a scroll worth a fortune. She whispered to me, I'll hold them, you run. I looked at her. And you? I'm a shadow assassin. The night is my domain. Which was a nice line, except she'd spent the whole day running for her life, so we both knew it was nothing. And now, she was marked. No stealth, no escape. The mage raised his staff and lit the whole clearing up like noon. A 1-meter fireball roared to life, the kind of thing only level 20 mages can throw, the kind that seriously injures or outright kills. He hurled it. At the same time, he snapped out a mental snare, invisible threads that wrapped our feet and slowed us to a crawl. The archer loosed an arrow that split into 3 mid-flight. The knight lit up with charge and came in like a truck. Everything, all at once, aimed at 2 kids. Ning Yi Yi threw herself sideways and shoved me out of the blast zone. It's over, she said, and she believed it. It was not over. 2 skeletons popped into being on either side of her, a third in front. 3 walls of bone, and the mage's fireball detonated against them and did nothing. The triple arrow clanged off and did nothing. The knight slammed into a skeleton and bounced off, and the skeleton didn't so much as lean. Out of the smoke, my skeleton stepped forward glowing bluish white, not a scratch on it. How is this possible? The mage screamed. He'd scanned me. Level 10 Necromancer. Summons can't outlevel the summoner. His level 21 strength should have deleted anything I put down. Click, click. 44 skeletons rose out of the dark and closed the circle. Now they were the ones surrounded. Even Ning Yi Yi's jaw was on the floor. She'd met my one landfill skeleton that afternoon. The cracked one with the busted sword. The thing that looked like a stiff wind would end it. 44 of them, and a level 20 mage's best spell couldn't dent one. I walked back to her side. I didn't say much. I never do. I just gave the order. Kill. The mage threw up an energy shield, the mage's signature move, the thing that's supposed to eat 5 hits from a same-level warrior. 1 skeleton swing, and it buckled. 2nd swing, and it shattered into starlight. He panic-cast a fire ring, blew a few skeletons back 10 meters, felt maybe half a second of hope, and then 2 skeletons were already on his head, and his head was already in the air. 2 seconds. Dead. The archer was faster, and it bought him about 10 more seconds of running before a skeleton with 3,000 agility ran him down, because you cannot outrun that. The knight lasted longest. He popped ultimate defense, a rare knight skill that turns you into a glowing brick a level 40 mage can't crack. And he ran, glowing, while the light drained under a rain of skeleton swings. Ultimate defense lasts a minute if nobody hits you. Everybody was hitting him. It lasted seconds. Then Berserk Strike lit up a dozen skeleton blades at once, and the knight came apart, full of regret, over a scroll that wasn't worth his life. 20 seconds, start to finish. 3 level 20 pros, and I never moved from my spot. Either don't do it, or don't hesitate. My sister taught me that. I did exactly that. Ning Yi Yi was still standing there blinking, adorable and useless, going, "They're all dead?" Yeah, they were all dead. My skeletons trotted back carrying the loot, because when a pro dies, their storage dumps on the ground, and my crew is very thorough. 4 bronze weapons, a match set from some Orc Legion dungeon these 3 used to farm, all useless to me but sellable, materials. And one more thing, a beginner skill scroll, worth 100,000 gold, randomly grants a class skill below level 20 with a chance of dud rolling something you already have. Ning Yi, bless her, immediately tried to prank me, told me the way to use it was to hold it up and shout, "Use!" real loud. I held it, didn't shout, just pushed my mental energy into it, because I've never used one, but I'm also not stupid. The scroll flared. She looked genuinely crushed that I'd figured it out. New skill acquired, corpse explosion. On paper it looked like garbage. Detonate a corpse, deal 10% of its health to enemies within 1 meter. 1 meter. What are you going to do with 1 meter? But I'm a necromancer, and to me, corpses aren't empty. A dead body still holds all the life it had while breathing, in the flesh, the bone, the soul. And here's the part that made me smile. It's an area skill. Kill one enemy, blow the corpse, catch the ones around it, make more corpses, blow those. A chain reaction that only stops when I run out of mana. And with my talent stapled on, that 1 meter radius becomes 20 meters, and the 10% becomes 200%. Another god skill. That's just what my talent does. It takes trash and hands it back to me as a war crime. Ning Yi didn't blame me for cutting her prank short. She's a gremlin, not a grudge holder. She said my voice was nice, asked why I never use it. And then, because saving her life and complimenting her voice apparently maxed out some friendship meter, she pulled out a box and handed it to me. An intermediate skills scroll. Awaken skills between level 40 and 70. On the exchange, 10 million gold, 100 times the beginner one. The exact thing 3 grown men had just died trying to steal from her. And she gave it away like it was a stick of gum. I have no idea which noble family she comes from. All I know is she is disgustingly, casually rich. And she gave me 10 million gold because I shared my sweet potatoes. Speaking of, the next morning she woke up, stuck out her hand, and asked if there were any sweet potatoes left. I gave her one. Not enough, she said. I gave her another. Can you please not be so stingy? A real man is generous. Bring it all. So I handed over basically all 20 of my sweet potatoes and kept exactly 0 for myself. She still didn't believe they were gone and looked like she wanted to climb into my storage space to check. Then she left, taking my sweet potatoes and the coat I'd loaned her as a blanket, told me to level up fast so I could carry her later, and called me Lin Daisy on the way out, which roughly means Lin the Fool, my first friend in this life. She robbed me of my lunch and my jacket in one morning. After she was gone, I looked at the 3 corpses still lying by the fire, and I tried out my new toy. Corpse explosion. The forest lost a chunk. A crater 20 meters wide, 10 deep, trees turned to splinters. Then I had a skeleton toss a body in the air and blew it up there, and the airburst was even bigger. Good to know. And here's the useful part nobody advertises. After that, there were no bodies left, no blood, no evidence. 3 pros vanished off the face of the world like they'd never existed. Turns out the best cleanup skill in the game is also my best area attack. I filed that away too. Something told me it was going to come up again real soon. The next stop was the West Sea Mine, Goblin territory, about 50 kilometers out and home to a dungeon. Not a nurturing little starter box this time, a real one. The thing you have to understand about dungeons is that the experience math is bonkers. A monster inside a nightmare difficulty dungeon gives about 10 times what the same level monster gives in the open world. Kill 1 goblin outside, get 300. Kill 1 inside, get thousands. And I'd worked out that this was almost certainly how my sister leveled so fast last year. The reason she once came home from these outskirts covered in blood. She was farming a nightmare dungeon with the team, taking hits, getting patched up. So I went to see it for myself. The dungeon entrance is a swirling, meter-wide vortex, leaking a smell of blood strong enough to scare the weak-hearted just standing near it. There's a whole crowd out front waving flags, shouting for team members. Normal difficulty wants a 3-stack, tank, damage, healer. Nightmare wants 5, with 2 supports. That's the standard. That's what a competent group needs to survive. I walked up alone, my landfill skeleton clicking beside me, and everybody peeled back to make room, because the skeleton is genuinely upsetting to look at. People tried to recruit me anyway. Summoners have good damage. Join our team. We're doing Nightmare. We'll split the drops. I ignored all of it, put my hand on the crystal, and selected Nightmare difficulty, solo. Behind me the crowd lost its collective mind. He's soloing it. He's going to die. What an idiot. Every year, people get cocky and solo and come out in a body bag. Or don't come out at all. They settled in to watch the show. Inside, an iron gate, and behind it, something 2 meters tall roaring at me. Goblin Mind Guardian, level 14, enhanced elite, constitution 1000, several times tougher than the goblins outside. A level 14 knight has maybe 300 or 400 constitution. This thing had 1,000. Nightmare dungeons are not a joke. My skeletons at that point had 4 stats of 3,000 plus each. I opened the gate. The guardian charged. It met a greatsword, ate a couple of swings, and hit the floor in about 2 seconds. 4,200 experience for 1 kill, 10 times the open world rate. I felt the good kind of excited, the kind that means I found the vein of gold. So I did what I do, let the whole crew loose down every branching tunnel, and the mine has a lot of tunnels, all connected, all leading to the same place. And my skeletons don't pick a lane, they take all of them. Nothing survives. 5 minutes in, level 11. The map drew itself. Half an hour, and every tunnel was scrubbed clean. Then I met the Mine Wolf King. Elite boss, level 15, 5 meters long, the kind of thing my skeleton doesn't even reach the knee of. It roared, and the roar was an area shockwave with knockback. And for the first time all day, 30-odd of my skeletons got launched off their feet and slapped into the walls. First time I'd ever seen my skeletons go flying. Looked bad. Wasn't. Constitution 3400 means they got up, shook off the cracks, and went right back to work. The Wolf King rolled and thrashed, and tried to shake the skeletons off its back the way a dragon in my job change vision once did. And it worked about as well. It bit a skeleton and broke its own teeth. What's the point of being huge if you still die? It roared a second time, full power, and cleared every skeleton off at once. Then it did something smart. It turned and ran, limping, howling down the tunnel. And the howl was a signal. Iron gates all down the passage cranked open, and out came the wolves. Hundreds of ferocious wolves, level 14, individually weaker than the tunnel goblins, but coming in a tide that would freeze your blood. This is the part where a normal 5-stack retreats into a choke point. The knight holds the door, the healer sustains, the mage AoEs the wolves to death through the funnel. Solid plan. It's how everybody does it. Here's what nobody told me, because it's not in any book. A normal team fights a dozen wolves. I got hundreds, because I'd cleared every monster in the tunnels first, and the game had nowhere else to put them. I didn't know that. Wouldn't have changed a thing if I had. You think I'm leaving experience on the table? The wolves poured in and broke against my skeletons like surf on a rock. I had 5 skeletons gang 1 wolf. 2 seconds, dead. Then I lit my palm. Corpse explosion. 1 wolf corpse, 200% of its health, dealt in a 20-meter circle. No wolf survives 200% of its own life. Instant sellout. And every wolf that died became a new bomb. The notifications turned into a waterfall. Experience jumped from 32% to 72% in a blink. 40% of a level from a single button. The Wolf King limped back in, and I looked at the corpses at its feet. And I said, treat everyone equally. You should try some too. 3 bodies, 3 detonations, and the big scary boss that a 5-stack fights for 20 minutes was a pile of bones. 15,000 experience. Honestly, a little stingy for a boss, but bosses aren't about experience. They're about drops. Wolf King teeth, a crafting material. A monster core, which makes jewelry and sells high because bosses drop them rarely. Down at the bottom of the mine, past a kilometer of tunnel and a spiral of elite goblins I swept aside on the way, the final boss was waiting. Goblin King, level 16, 3,000 strength, 3,000 constitution, big enough that its breathing alone kicked up wind that nearly knocked me over. The detection spell woke it. It roared, leapt, and brought a greatsword down on my head. I didn't move. The blade stopped 10 centimeters from my face, frozen against the invisible wall of damage transfer. And then I frowned, because I felt something I wasn't supposed to feel. All my skeletons, all at once, dimmed by a third. Cracks running through every one of them. That single blow hurt my whole army. Here's the thing I learned kneeling at the bottom of that mine. Damage transfer takes the damage I would have taken and splits it across my summons. But the damage is calculated off my defense, and my defense is garbage. Constitution 120. So when a boss with 3,000 strength hits me, the game runs the number against my paper-thin body, gets an enormous figure, and only then hands it to my skeletons. If that blow had landed on a skeleton directly, off the skeleton's real defense, it would have barely scratched. Routed through me first, it nearly broke the whole crew. I am the weakness. The one soft spot in an unkillable army is the guy standing in the middle of it. A smart enemy doesn't waste time hacking my skeletons. A smart enemy focuses fire on me, because every hit I eat is a hit multiplied and spread across everyone I own. Damage transfer isn't a magic word, it's a loan, and I'm the one with the bad credit. So from now on, Constitution is the stat. The tougher I am, the tougher my whole army is. Good to know before it got me killed instead of just spooked. I stepped back, let the skeleton swarm the boss, and used the trick I'd figure out that mattered more than raw stats. Soul fire. It's a mental attack. It ignores defense entirely and burns the soul directly, and it's nearly instant, faster than the boss's own skills. So every time the Goblin King wound up to breathe fire or knock everyone back, I burned its soul and interrupted it mid-cast. A boss that can't use its skills is just a big sack of experience. A minute later, it collapsed, full of resentment. Level 12. A bronze dagger, a knowledge robe I actually put on for the +10 spirit and constitution, and a low-tier core. I ran the dungeon again after the cooldown, and again, and by the third clear, I'd noticed the Goblin King's eyes, and I swear the thing recognized me. So I started talking to it. Don't be upset. I won't come back after a few more times. You're going to die anyway, so does it really matter who kills you? And the faster I kill you, the less it hurts. Whether it understood or not wasn't the point. I just wanted to say it. Killing monsters and killing people to me aren't that different, and that's not because I'm cold. It's because my sister told me to stay calm no matter what, and calm is the thing that keeps you alive. But apologizing to a boss I was about to farm for the 5th time? That part was just me. Somewhere around clear number 4, I got creative. Instead of fighting through the mine, I had my skeletons run ahead and aggro everything, goblins and wolves and all, and drag the entire zoo into one screaming knot without stopping to fight. Then I gathered them tight, killed one, and chain detonated the corpses. 10 corpse explosions in a row peeled a whole layer off the dungeon floor. Level 14, 5 minutes after walking in. The Wolf King didn't even get to run this time. It just died in the blast with everyone else. That's efficiency. That's what it looks like. But before all the smooth farming, there was the Dynasty Guild. I came back from a cooldown to find the dungeon entrance blocked. A whole regiment of guild pros in matching gear, weapons that actually cost money, standing shoulder to shoulder so nobody could get in. Their young guildmaster was inside doing a mission, and until he finished, nobody else was allowed to farm. A crowd of independents was protesting, loudly and uselessly, because the Dynasty Guild is powerful and nobody dares actually swing at them. One of the independents was a guy named Wang Yi. Earlier, at the campfires, when everybody else was calling me a scary weirdo, Wang Yi was the one who walked over with a plate of grilled meat and told me I shouldn't just eat steamed buns. Reminded me of Gao Yang, that easy sunny smile. Now that smile was gone, replaced with anger. I asked him what was going on. The mission, he explained, was the Goblin King's crystal core. Drops only in Nightmare, only once every 100 days, and today was day 100. The core makes the Goblin King ring, adds 10 to every stat, bumps every skill up a level, the single strongest piece of jewelry below level 40. The young guildmaster wanted it for his own academy entrance exam, so the Dynasty Guild simply annexed the whole dungeon. Now, I already had a Goblin King crystal core in my storage. I'd been planning to sell it for 100,000 gold, because that's what the exchange job offered. Turns out it's worth 10 million, and the Dynasty Guild was locking down a public dungeon to grab one for a fraction of that. And more to the point, they were standing between me and my leveling, which is the one thing on this earth I do not tolerate. I walked toward the entrance. Wang Yi tried to pull me back. "Come back! The Dynasty Guild will kill you!" The protesters chimed in. The mage leading the blockade, a level 25 guy named Zhao Ji, gave me the whole condescending routine. "Go home, little level 12. Drink your milk. This isn't the place for you." I stopped in front of him. "Move aside." He laughed like I was the funniest thing all week. "Don't stop me from entering the dungeon," I said, "or I'll kill you." I wasn't joking. He scanned me, saw level 12, and got even smugger, told me to get lost. He'd let me off because we were both mages. Behind me, even Wang Yi was begging me to come back and wait them out. "This is the last time," I said, and my voice dropped. "Get out of the way, or die." Something in that made Zhao Ji shiver. Then he decided he was angry instead of scared. "Take another step and I'll kill you." I looked at him, my lips twitched. Kill. One skeleton flashed forward. Zhao Ji threw up his energy shield, told me a level 12 couldn't crack it if I stood here swinging all day. One swing bent it nearly flat. His face changed. A shield that eats 5 same-level hits was about to break on the second. He panicked, fire-ringed the skeleton back, screamed at his knights to charge. A knight slammed into a skeleton and got launched 10 meters while the skeleton didn't budge, because when it comes down to raw strength, my skeletons win. Every time. Unless you've got a knockback gimmick. Then Zhao Ji did the smart thing. Kill the summoner, not the summons. 2 archers fired triple shots at me. I didn't move. 2 skeletons popped up and ate the arrows. He realized I had more than one summon. He was about to learn the actual number. He rallied his squad into formation. Tank line, damage in the middle, support in back. And had them stack every buff in the book. Strength up, agility up, shields, the works. 30 seconds of clean teamwork. Battle-hardened guild, real coordination. I'll give them that. His confidence came back. He'd been surrounded by summons before. Just takes time to grind them down. I raised a hand and told Wang Yi and the independents to step back. Way back. Then I opened the vortex. 20 skeletons came out at once. 20 soul fires burning in the dark. Zhao Ji's face fell off his skull. How could there be so many? That number already beat his head count, and it wasn't the number. I burned one of his archers with soul fire, and his healer barely yanked the guy back from death, and Zhao Ji broke into a cold sweat because he finally understood what he was fighting. Not a summoner, a necromancer. A summoner and a mage in one body. I focused the skeletons on a single knight on the outer edge, layered swings until his ultimate defense popped, then burned his soul through the defense so he screamed even while glowing. And the second the ultimate defense cracked, I lit up a dozen berserk strikes at once, and the knight died faster than the healer could blink. That opened a hole in their formation. Zhao Ji screamed run. Too late. A skeleton flipped the dead knight's body into the air. Corpse explosion. And a knight has some of the highest survivability in the game, which means his corpse holds a mountain of health, which means 200% of that, air burst, centered right over the huddled formation, was less an attack and more a natural disaster. Zhao Ji heard one loud bang, and then nothing at all. A dozen of the Dynasty Guild's finest, gone, leaving a scatter of mangled corpses. My skeleton scooped up all the loot. Then, one by one, I threw the corpses in the air and detonated every last one, until there was nothing left. No bodies, no blood, no evidence. Just a scorched patch of dirt and a very quiet dungeon entrance. The independents crept back, pale, still feeling the leftover blast energy scraping their skin. All dead, they whispered. Not even corpses left. And they were smart enough to draw the obvious conclusion, that the Dynasty Guild would never let this slide, and that being anywhere near it when they came looking was a death sentence whether you talked or not. Wang Yi made the call. Everybody scatter. Leave the city. Leave the province. Get out from under the guild's shadow. He clasped his hands, wished me luck, and the whole crowd melted into the night. They never got to see the funniest part. The young guildmaster, Wang Zihao, came out of his own dungeon run half an hour later to find his elite escorts simply gone. No Zhao Ji, no corpses, no independence. He fired a signal flare that could be seen for 10 miles. Nothing answered. He stood there, staring at an empty clearing, unable to imagine what could erase a dozen level 20 pros without a trace, because the truth, that a level 12 kid did it while nobody watched, was not a thought a brain like his could hold. His father, the guild chairman, tore into him back at headquarters. Has a mad dog eaten your brain? Who told you to blockade a public dungeon? Do you think the Empire and the Professionals Association are for show? Then he told his son to stay put for a few days and just wait for the exam, because 16 levels was already enough. And getting locked in a room couldn't hurt his chances much. As for the men who vanished, the chairman said, the power that made so many people disappear at once is beyond your control. So drop it. He had no idea he was describing an 18-year-old with a bag of sweet potatoes and an army of skeletons fresh out of a junkyard. While the Dynasty Guild ran in circles looking for ghosts, I kept farming. Clear after clear, and something wonderful happened at level 10. My skeletons ranked up, black iron to bronze. The gray faded to a clean bluish white, the cracks sealed, even the busted swords looked like they'd been to a spa. My landfill boys were growing up. Stats jumped to 3,000 apiece, and they picked up their first real skill, Berserk Strike, double damage on a swing. The glow-up was real. And then, Xia Shui found me sitting outside the dungeon. She looked wrecked, dust on her face, elemental energy still crackling off her, fresh out of a fight. She'd been grinding normal difficulty with a team, 2 straight runs, and clawed her way from level 10 to 11. She stared at me, resentful, and demanded to know my level. 14. What? She nearly fell over. There was no way. The higher you climb, the slower it gets, and she was busting herself in half for 1 level a session. What she couldn't picture, because a sane person wouldn't, was that I'd been soloing Nightmare the whole time. She snorted, said she wouldn't lose, and stormed off. Then she came back. Then she went in again. Then she came out. Then she went in again. Which was the weird part. She was cycling in and out of the dungeon way faster than the 12-hour cooldown should have allowed. I tested that cooldown from both sides. It's real. So how was she skipping it? Eventually, she dragged herself over and collapsed next to me, wrung out, done pretending she wasn't exhausted, and we actually talked. She told me she was gunning for Xiajing Academy too, that she needed level 15 and had a day and a half to get there, and that she'd been suppressed by me for so many years she'd rather die than lose again. When I asked why she cared that much, she looked at me like I was hopeless. Because you never let me win, that's why. I genuinely considered apologizing for coming first in every exam for 3 years. Then I asked about the cooldown thing. She got this delighted little grin, the grin of someone who finally knows a thing the top student doesn't. She held out a palm-sized gem covered in runes. Cooldown amulet. Cancels dungeon cooldowns, up to 10 uses, works on anything below level 20. Her dad gave it to her, and even her dad, who is loaded, looked pained handing it over, which tells you the price. I filed it under things I cannot afford and let it go. But here's where it turned into a deal. She had 7 amulet charges left and a day and a half, and she was calculating she'd need 9 full dungeon runs, solo pace, to guarantee level 15. And the thought of it was making her want to lie down and die. So I made her an offer. I can carry you, You'll hit 15. You won't have to lift a finger. Her eyes lit up. 2 people split more experience than 3. No work, guaranteed level. The only downside, which she said out loud with a sigh, was that carrying her meant she'd fall even further behind me. Then she decided getting into the academy mattered more than the scoreboard, for now, and agreed. She'd share the amulet, I'd share the runs. So I took Xia Shui into a nightmare dungeon. She saw the enhanced elite behind the gate, and her long legs went a little weak. Did you pick the wrong one? This is nightmare. Are you crazy? We'll die. I told her I did not pick the wrong one, and that she'd be running behind me in a minute. Then I dropped 80 skeletons, opened the gate, and had them aggro the whole mine. Come with me, I said, and started jogging. She stood there processing the fact that dungeons could be played like this at all. Then she ran, because she'd rather face a demon horde than let me see her scared. A river of monsters chased my skeletons ran the loop, and Xia Shui and I strolled along at the back like tourists. When the pile was big enough, a few skeletons killed one enemy, flipped the body up, and I detonated it in the air. One bang! Her experience jumped 30%. Her jaw came unhinged. 10 minutes in, the mine wolf king she found genuinely terrifying was a smoking pile. And the boss went down right after, and she just stood there, vibrating. She'd fought that same wolf king on normal with a full team and careful tactics for 20 minutes. Here, it lasted one breath. She suspected, out loud, that the Goblin King might secretly be my son, feeding me free experience out of love. I did not correct her. She asked if I soloed Nightmare all the time. Yes. Starting from level 10. Yes. And it clicked for her. That's why I'd rocketed past her. That's why the gap kept widening instead of closing. If not for cooldowns, she said, you'd be level 20 by now. Probably. By the end of it, she'd stopped being scared and started being into it, running beside me all fired up. And when I gave her a strange look, she snapped, "What are you staring at? Never seen a beautiful woman?" She's not wrong, for the record. She also got the exact staff she wanted off a boss drop, the Goblin King staff, best mage weapon under level 20. I tossed it to her. She caught it, stood there, stunned, and asked why I didn't want it. I used the spell book, I told her, because I don't like staffs. That's the whole reason. She found this deeply unsatisfying and completely convincing at the same time. Somewhere in there, she also decided I was, and I quote, a weirdo. But kind of cute, because I keep apologizing to the boss before I kill it for the 5th time. Sorry, I might have to kill you 5 more times. Who does that? Dungeons are just farms, bosses are just crops. But I said it anyway, because I wanted to, and she laughed. And for the first time in 3 years, being around Xia Shui wasn't a competition. It was almost nice. Then Gao Yang showed up. My boy Gao Yang, level 11 knight, standing outside the dungeon looking heartbroken because nobody would team with a low-level tank. Xia Shui scanned him, laughed at him. And then, because she's got a soft center under all the spikes, called him over and told him to stop looking for a team, we'd carry him. He nearly cried, started doing his whole shameless routine, calling us his benefactors, promising to behave. And Xia Shui kept a fireball ready the entire time in case he said one more stupid thing. He did say one more stupid thing. She singed his backside. He screamed and vanished. Standard Gao Yang. 10 hours later, cooldown up, I dragged both of them into a nightmare run. Gao Yang hit the floor the second he saw the difficulty. Boss Lin, why are we in nightmare? I could get one shot in here. Xia Shui told him to shut up and stand behind her. 10 minutes later, he was staring at the corpse of a boss with his mouth open, drooling. And then he hugged my leg and asked to be my permanent accessory. Xia Shui asked where his knightly pride went. He asked what good pride does when the boss carries everyone. Honestly, unbeatable logic. I hit level 16. Xia Shui hit 15. Gao Yang got his 12. Plenty for the provincial academy he was aiming at. Job done. That evening, the principals lined up on the south wall to watch their students come home, because the day before the great exam is really a status contest between headmasters dressed up as concern. Kids trickled back, levels 10 to 13, a couple of decent ones, nobody special, and the principals kept their polite scoreboard. Then 3 figures came out of the mist late, and old Lu scanned them. Gao Yang, 12, Xia Shu, 15, which locked in her academy shot, and me. The principals are all level 40 plus, second awakened, so my shield badge means nothing to them. Lin Moyu, Necromancer, level 16. The gasp went down the whole wall. Level 16, one above Xia Shu, impossibly fast. They started muttering about dungeon spam, spotting the Goblin King gear on all 3 of us, deciding we'd gotten lucky with drops. Old Lu didn't care how. He'd just won the headmaster contest in a landslide, 2 likely Xiajing admits out of 1 dilapidated school, and he stood there beaming like a man who'd been handed the moon. That night, I meditated in my empty house, filling out my summon roster, and I did the quiet math on the days I had left. Shihai City had been good to me. It gave me my skeletons, my first friend, my first kills, my first real understanding of what I actually was and where I was actually weak. But it was a starter zone, and starter zones are for leaving. Tomorrow was the great exam, the thing that decides whether a nobody from a poorhouse in a middling city gets to walk through the hardest gate in the empire, the thing standing between me and my sister. I wasn't nervous. I'd already seen what my skeletons do to everything that gets in the way, but I hadn't seen what happens when the abyss itself decides to crash the test. Nobody had. That part was still coming. The great exam doesn't happen at a school. It happens in the provincial capital, Jianghai City, one letter off from home and a completely different animal. A real metropolis, run by examiners sent from the empire itself. Old Liu handed everyone a teleport stone. Crush it or channel into it, and it drops you at the test site. Safety first, he said, one last time. Then we all flashed out. The site was a square the size of a small country, filling up with candidates teleporting in from a dozen cities across the province. Thousands of us. And out of the sky came a tower. The Trial Tower. One of the 3 divine towers of the empire, and this was a clone of the real one that hangs over the capital on exam day. Its doors ground open, and a voice the size of God laid out the rules. No talking, no questions. Break a rule, lose your seat. Some kids whispered anyway. Beams of light shot out of the tower, and they simply vanished. Rule violation, disqualified. The whole square went so silent you could hear people deciding not to breathe. Years of prep, deleted for a whisper. Everybody clamped their mouths shut. I looked over at Gao Yang. If there's one soul on this earth who cannot physically stay quiet, it's him. And taking away his voice is basically torture. He had both hands mashed over his mouth, eyes wide, holding it in like his life depended on it, which it did. The guy has some self-awareness after all. The rules were simple. Combat classes get combat scenarios. You pass a basic bout, then you choose your difficulty, and difficulty plus performance equals points. And points are your score and your admission ticket. And up in a university, points beat gold every time. Your storage locks the second you enter. Then, line up, walk in. I walked in, a beam scanned me, and it teleported me into my own private space. Same as a dungeon. Up top, the examiners watched. Level 70 plus, 1 per profession, and my file popped up in front of them with a little question mark on it. New class. First one in over 30 years. They decided to test the Necromancer as a rare tier mage, which meant fighting a monster 2 levels above me. A wolf-orc mage appeared behind a barrier. Kill it. Countdown. 3, 2, 1. Soulfire landed on the thing's head the same instant the barrier dropped. It screamed and died before it finished screaming. Up top, the examiners froze. Instant kill. How? Is the data broken? It wasn't broken. It was set correctly. Rare tier, monster 2 levels up, and it died in 1/10 of a second. And now they had a problem, because you can't grade combat skill on a fight that lasts 1 blink. That's when the old man showed up, Ning Xuanfeng. The examiners nearly folded themselves in half, bowing. He'd heard a brand new class debuted this year and wanted a look. He watched my file, called me a nice young man, listened to the instant kill story, and made a call that told you exactly how far above these examiners he sat. Test him again, at legendary difficulty. When one examiner worried it was unfair, Ning Xuanfeng laughed, said instant kills had happened before, and casually offered to personally donate 100,000 points to cover it. The examiners nearly had heart attacks turning him down. So a second monster appeared, same wolf-orc mage, but scaled to legendary, 4 tiers above me. Barrier dropped, soulfire, dead, instant, same as before. I had no idea any of this was special. I figured that's just how the exam worked. One monster, then another. I did not know a man who 10 people in the entire empire have to bow to was rewriting the test in real time because a poor kid with a bag of sweet potatoes broke his measuring stick. The first round ended. 632 combat candidates, 522 passed. Rankings went up. Lin Moyu, 0.1 seconds, 100 points. Second place, 3.2 seconds. Third, 5.2, Xia Shui. Fourth, 5.5, Wang Zihao, the dynasty young master, who took one look at first place and lost it. 0.1 seconds. Impossible. There must be a mistake. I should be number 1. There was no mistake. He just wasn't built to imagine the alternative. Then, round 2. And this is my favorite one. Endurance. 30 minutes. Monsters spawn every 5 seconds. Whoever kills the most wins. And it wrecks people. Because unlike a dungeon, there's no rest, no storage, no potions, just half an hour of non-stop fighting draining every ounce of gas you have. Real professionals were pacing their mana, budgeting stamina, grinding through it in a cold sweat. Wang Zihao went all out early and cratered. Xia Shui metered her skills perfectly, adjusting output to save mana, and the examiners loved her for it. Zuo-mei, the rogue who took second in round 1, danced around her targets clean and efficient, not a wasted motion. And me? I put down 2 skeletons in front of the spawn orb, and every monster that appeared died within half a second of existing. And then I sat down. There was nothing to do, so I took a sweet potato out of my pocket and started eating it, because storage locks during the exam. And what if you get hungry? So I'd stuffed sweet potatoes in my pockets before walking in. And now my skeletons were doing the whole exam, and I had time on my hands, so sweet potato, slowly, one bite at a time. Up top, the examiners lost their minds. This kid brought snacks, eating during the great exam, first time in recorded history. Write it down so he goes in the books. Are sweet potatoes really that good? Watching him eat is making me hungry. One examiner was genuinely offended that everyone else was working themselves to the bone while I picnicked and floated, raising my difficulty. Ning Xuanfeng shut it down. The exam has to be fair. He hadn't said a word in ages. His eyes never left me. This little guy is interesting. 30 minutes. People gave up, people got hurt and pulled out. I was the only candidate in the building who could have taken a nap. Final score, 1,605, which meant 301 kills, 10 a minute, nearly the hard cap of 12. Everyone in the tower had the same thought at the same time. Is this guy a monster? Outside, old Lu jumped up so hard he spilled his tea all over his own hands, and the other principals started needling him. Your student's a freak. And old Lu wanted to scream back that their whole families were freaks, and couldn't because he was too busy being the proudest man in the province. Round 3, one-on-one against a boss-level monster, no support, a real gut check for any class. I chose Hell difficulty because the harder it is, the more each kill is worth, and my skills don't care. The examiners had learned to predict me by now. A dual-sword wolf-orc captain appeared. 2 skeletons, 2 berserk strikes, 2 loud bangs, and it fell without a sound. Instant sellout. Again. Meanwhile, Xiaoshui kited and burned. Wang Zihao went in swinging and bleeding. Zuo-mei circled and controlled, all of them earning their 500 points the honest way. And me? I didn't move a muscle. Score, 2,105, and I was so bored I took out another sweet potato. Round 4, 10 waves, 10 monsters each, 1 wave a minute whether you've cleared the last one or not, mixed warriors and mages, the final wave capped with a boss. This one tests how fast you clear before the pile buries you. The examiners smiled and stared at me, sure I'd finally get caught out because the way to beat a summoner is to kill the summoner. And maybe the necromancer would drown. Ning Xuanfeng said quietly, this round won't be hard for him. He was right. I put out a 3rd skeleton, killed the whole first wave in under 3 seconds, and then, because there was nothing to do again, ate another sweet potato. The examiners actually got annoyed at how boring I was and switched to watching the interesting people. Xia Shui laying paths of fire. Wang Zihao waiting, smart, for the exact right moment to burn his 5-minute berserk. And a new name lighting up. Feng Shou. A holy swordsman from a sword family who'd been sandbagging all 4 rounds on purpose because his clan helped write these rules and he knew the last 2 rounds were where the points really lived. Gao Yang tapped out on the 5th wave, and the second he got outside and heard people gossiping about the terrifying Necromancer, he could not help himself. That's my boss. Of course he's amazing. Somebody asked who he was. He announced his full name and school like a town crier and launched into the whole legend. How I carried him through a nightmare dungeon in 10 minutes, and nobody believed a word of it, and he didn't care even a little. He'd been holding his tongue for 1 whole round, and he was going to make up for lost time. The tower thinned out. In the end, 5 candidates left standing. Me, Xia Shui, Zuo-mei, Wang Zihao, and Feng Shou, the sandbagger, who finally turned it on and cut through the horde like the rare-class monster he'd been hiding. Rankings after 4 rounds. Lin Moyu, 3,605. Zuo-mei, 2nd, less than half of mine. Xia Shui, 3rd. Wang Zihao, 4th, close enough to Xia Shui to keep hating it. Feng Shou, 5th. The other 4 scores added together didn't reach mine, and there was still 1 round to go, the 5th. Battle space. The one the examiners couldn't watch, the one only 10 people in the Empire have the clearance to see, the one where the actual champions get decided. Wang Zihao gripped his sword and grinned. Everything's going as planned. The 5th round is where I win. He was wrong about who was going to win. He was also wrong about what was going to be in there with us. The 5th round is called Battle Space. They toss you into a huge private arena, and monsters spawn without end. Warriors, mages, archers, knights, everything in big numbers. And the faster you kill, the faster they come and the stronger they get. 5 stages, level 15 up to 19. Each level doubles the points per kill. The all-time record, set over 100 years ago and never broken, is clearing the 3rd stage. That's the ceiling of human history right there. The examiners couldn't watch this round. Their clearance only shows point changes, nothing else. Even Ning Xuanfeng couldn't watch. When they asked him who could, he said no more than 10 people in the whole empire. That shut everybody up fast, so they sat there reading my score like a stock ticker. I dropped into a black plane that reeked of old blood and death, and as a necromancer, I'm tuned to death energy, so I could feel it in my bones. Something enormous had died here, a lot of somethings, a real battle, and the ground had drunk it for years. First wave, 10 cat-orc warriors, and my detection spell came back nearly empty. No stats, no skills. First time it ever gave me that little. High constitution, low-strength lizards on 2 legs. 3 skeletons dropped them, though the first ones took 2 swings instead of 1. Then corpse explosion, and the whole squad went up, and my score jumped 500. Then I learned the catch. The corpses melt. 10 seconds and they sink into the black dirt and vanish, so no leaving bombs lying around for later. Fine, I adjusted. Sent 9 skeletons out to aggro every squad on the plane, dragged the whole field into one knot, killed one, chain detonated. Score exploded from 3,600 to 8,600. First 100 monsters, gone. Up in the control room, the examiners were losing it, because his score doesn't creep, it teleports. Sit still, then rockets. This guy has area attacks. This class is broken. His single target is insane, and his AoE is insane. Ning Xuanfeng just watched the number climb with his eyelid twitching, and thought the one thought everyone kept coming back to. What exactly is a necromancer, and where is his limit? I cleared stage 1, then stage 2. The level bumped, and the count doubled, and it changed nothing. Same trick, aggro, gather, kill one, chain the corpses. My score crossed 30,000. Xia Shui was second, around 7,000, doing genuinely great work for a mage. Feng Xiu behind her, Zhou Mei and Wang Zihao lower, grinding it out 1 kill at a time. And then, at the same moment, in every arena across the country, the monsters vanished. The air went wrong, heavier, black mist crawling up out of the ground. And I did the only sane thing when the world stops making sense. I pulled every skeleton in tight and turtled up. Lin the Fool, a familiar voice, Xia Shui, standing in my arena, which should have been impossible because these spaces are private. Then more beams of light, and candidate after candidate appeared, 100+ of them, from every province in the country, all dumped into one place. Something had torn the walls down. A voice came over everything. I am Bai Yun, and the whole crowd nearly fainted, because Bai Yun is God Bai, one of the absolute top powers of the empire, a name spoken like a prayer. God Bai told us the truth, plain. The demons of the Abyss world had invaded the battle space. The exam grounds were built on soil taken from the Abyss, which gave the enemy a foothold. And now the powers of the empire were racing to fix the rules from outside. It would take an hour. For that hour, we were on our own, and the Abyss was hunting us specifically. Not random kids, the geniuses who made it to the 5th round. The empire's whole future, in one room, being harvested. Godbai said one more thing before he went quiet. If we stayed united, we could hold. The kids started roaring it back, fearless in battle, fearless in the face of death. Over and over, 100 voices, because they're 18 and full of fire. Xia Shui half raised her fist to join in, then saw me standing there silent and lowered it. I didn't roar, but I'm 18 too, and a citizen of this empire, and there was a heat in my chest I didn't bother naming. I wasn't going to shout. When it came to killing abyss demons though, I wasn't going to hold back either. Then the sky turned to a blood moon, and the voice came. The abyss demon spoke into the dark, and it was the exact tone you'd expect. Smug, playful, cruel. It's a pity you're all going to die. An hour is enough to kill all of you. Such a shame I can't take your bodies home. Young human flesh is the tastiest. And the kids who'd been roaring a minute ago went pale and quiet, because a voice like that gets into the animal part of your brain. Xia She drifted closer to me. I felt disgust more than fear. Petty thieves are always the most repulsive kind. The monsters came, cat-orc warriors, but corrupted, level 19, the cap of the battle space. 3 meters tall, barbed tails, faces twisted into something worse than they started as. 100 of them, marching in a line that trembled the ground. Somebody remembered out loud that the arena caps at 19, and there was this brief, hopeful murmur, "Only 19, there's so many of us." And then the line kept coming, and the murmur died. These weren't exam monsters. Each one was an enhanced elite, the kind that fills a nightmare dungeon. 100 of them, walking at teenagers who'd never stood on a real battlefield. The demon offered a game. There's 100 of you, 100 of them. How about a tournament, one-on-one? Winner lives, loser dies. It thought that was hilarious. Most of the kids backed up. Wang Zihao's legs shook, but some didn't move. Feng Xiu gripped his sword, grim, and held his ground. Zhou Mei readied her dagger. A handful of others too, ready to die like they meant it. I glanced at them. Then I made my move. Click, crack. My skeleton started forward and I walked behind them. Xia Shui panicked. "What are you doing? Come back!" and followed anyway, even after I told her to go back. Fine, follow if you want. It won't change anything. A dozen kids came with me, Feng Xiu and Zuo Mei among them, prepared to die like warriors. The demon crowed. "Finally, someone's come to die. Your courage is commendable. Why not come to the abyss and serve me?" I ignored it. I stopped 50 meters out. Corpse explosion's max range is 100 meters. 50 is the sweet spot, safe and plenty. Then I raised a finger. 100 skeletons appeared at once, an army out of nothing. The kids around me forgot to be scared for a second. So many! Look how many! My skeletons crossed the gap in a blur, faster than Zuo Mei the stealth specialist could track, and a dozen ganged the first corrupted orc. Berserk strike, all at once. The thing was strong, corrupted, tough as an enhanced elite, and it still went down in seconds. 8,000 experience. It gives experience. Which meant these monsters could level me up. I filed that away with a small, unkind smile. Then I lit my palm. The first corpse went up, and the corrupted orcs fell like cut wheat, one blast rolling into the next, a dozen thunderclaps peeling across the plain, until the whole line of 100 abyss-touched monsters was just gone. The kids stood there shaking, not with fear now, with something closer to hope. We're saved! This guy, this necromancer, this class is insane. And Wang Zihao muttered in the back, "Why him? Why not me? It isn't fair." And nobody heard him, because nobody was listening to a fourth-place kid in the middle of a miracle. The demon didn't believe it either. "Impossible. This is impossible. You've angered this demon king." The blood moon flared and threw down a second wave, spread out this time, rushing the professionals directly. And people scattered and ran across the big plain, but the demon's voice was thinner now. The power it had smuggled into the arena was limited. It had spent a chunk on that first wave, and the tank was running low. I looked up at the blood moon. There was a shadow on it, about 200 meters up. "So you were here." I ran the distance in my head. Then I had a few skeletons hoist a corrupted corpse and hurl it at the moon. And another skeleton grabbed me and threw me up after it. The bodies flew at the shadow like arrows, with me right behind. And the demon's voice cracked. Actually cracked. "What are you doing? You're crazy!" I didn't answer. When the corpse reached the shadow, I detonated it. The blast rocked the shadow. Didn't kill it. So as I fell, I added soul fire, the attack that ignores every defense and burns the soul raw. And the shadow screamed in a way it hadn't screamed before. "What is this skill? Why does it burn my soul? What are you?" I said nothing and burned it again on the way down. Outside the tower, the Empire's top powers felt the abyss interference drop by more than half. And Godbai went cold, thinking every kid inside must be dead. Then the woman managing the space, Meng Anwen, felt again and said no, the life force inside is strong, it's ours, and the abyss demon's consciousness has gone weak, it's hurt. Godbai flat did not believe it. A consciousness of the abyss, walled inside its own home field arena, hurt by children who were still in high school last week. Not possible. It was possible. It was me. The corrupted orcs abandoned the other kids and swarmed toward me because the demon had lost its whole mind and forgotten the mission and now wanted one thing, my death. My skeletons formed a line and held. 4 stats of 5,000 each, still far above corrupted enhanced elites. And I picked targets, ganged them a dozen to one, chained the corpses. Boom. And in the middle of that, mid-explosion, something changed. Corpse explosion, level 2, range 1 meter to 2, damage 10% to 15. It leveled up. From using it, over and over, mastering it. Which taught me something too, that scroll skills grow like innate ones if you grind them. And with the talent multiplier, that tiny bump meant a 40-meter radius and 300% of a corpse's health. One level. Everything changed. There wasn't a corrupted narc left standing next to me, and I got a level myself out of the deal. The other kids watched me farm the invasion like a dungeon and started whispering with something like worship. He's using the demons to level up. Which province is this monster from? Thank God he was here. I looked back up at the blood moon. The shadow was still there, still trapped, couldn't leave. So I threw 5 corpses up and a skeleton threw me after them one more time. And this time the shadow didn't yell, it laughed, low and sick. "Your name is Lin Moyu. I will remember you. When you come to the abyss, I will treat you well. I smiled and said nothing and blew it apart. The blood moon shattered like a dropped mirror. The plane went normal. Outside, Meng Anwen said the words nobody upstairs was ready for. The abyss consciousness is destroyed. Battle space is stable. The children are safe. No casualties. God Bai stood there wearing an expression he doesn't wear often, because at his level, almost nothing surprises him anymore. And this had. Xia Shui tugged my sleeve, pale, shaken, and asked in a small voice if I was okay now. I said it was fine. No speech, no comfort, just the 2 words, and somehow that was enough for her. God Bai's voice came back over the arena, warm this time. The abyss is gone. You'll be sent back to your rooms. Results soon. I want to be clear about something because it's the part that actually mattered to me more than the score. 100 and some kids walked into that arena chasing a spot at a school. Then a monster, old enough to be a bedtime story, reached in from another world to eat them. And for a few minutes, it was going to. And the reason a single one of them went home to their parents is that a quiet orphan from a poor house in a nothing city happened to be standing in the room, holding an army he'd built out of landfill scraps and 10 times math, and a stubborn refusal to ever be the victim in his own story. I didn't roar with the rest of them, but I brought every one of them back. Then I remembered I still had 1 sweet potato left, and I ate it, because turning the tide against the abyss is hungry work. And the results weren't going to change either way. The exam scores 2 things for combat classes: points and an evaluation. Ordinary schools just want the points. The top ones want the evaluation to say excellent. And for the 5 of us who reached battle space, the evaluation didn't come from provincial examiners. It came from the very top of the empire. Because in their eyes, anyone who got that far was worth watching, and they'd watch the whole thing on replay. God Bai, Meng Anwen. The powers who fixed the arena. They rewound the invasion and saw exactly who turned it. So it was me who saved everyone, one of them said. Amazing. They already knew about the Necromancer, the new class out of a nothing city, and they'd meant to keep half an eye on me this exam. They hadn't expected to owe me the lives of 100 future soldiers. The compliments piled up. Calm, decisive, skilled beyond his years, already carries himself like a top expert. Meanwhile, everyone else in that arena, next to me, had exactly 0 highlights to show. The final board went up. First, Lin Moyu, points, 34,605. Rating, excellent. The square erupted. Old Lu leapt out of his chair, old face so red he looked 1 heartbeat from a stroke, fingers shaking, barely able to say the word. Top scholar. Provincial champion. His student. The other principals crowded him with envy, because old Lu didn't just take first, he took second too. Xia Shui at 7,600, also rated excellent. Feng Xiu third, Zuo Mei fourth, and Wang Zihao fifth, rating poor. Poor. 1 bad evaluation, and every top school in the empire slammed its door. Not just Xiajing. The whole top 100. He roared that it was unfair, and a beam of light took him mid-sentence. Rule violation during the trial. Expelled. His future collapsed to whatever ordinary school would still have him. Family money and guild name and all, because none of that outweighs a prestigious academy that doesn't want you. Then, the examiner made it official, out loud, for the whole square. Combat category, provincial champion, Lin Moyu. Thunderous applause. And then the second announcement, straight from the Imperial High Command. National champion, Lin Moyu. Top scorer in the entire country. Old Lu jumped up again with what looked like actual flames coming off his head. He couldn't get the words out clean. National top scorer, our Moyu. And the other principals swung from teasing to open envy, because a national champion is a thing you brag about until you die. A thing that renames a school. Shihai No. 1 High just became the school that made a national champion. Old Lu had spent his whole career chasing 1 Xiajing admit. This year he got 2, and one of them cracked the whole country open. Xia Shui asked why I wasn't happy. I told her I was happy. She pouted, said I didn't even know how to smile when I was happy. I told her I'd smiled, just not on the outside. A fool is a fool, she said, and then, quieter, congratulations, Lin Zhuangyuan. Champion Lin, Zuo Mei and Feng Shu came over too, thanked me for the arena, offered dinner at Xiajing when we all got there. I shook their hands, said it was my pleasure, and then went so cold and quiet that the whole moment curdled, until Xia Shui laughed and covered for me. He doesn't talk. 3 years of class together and we've said maybe 10 words. I corrected her without thinking. 16. Feng Shu and Zuo Mei cracked up, Turns out the mute champion is kind of funny. Then the exam teleported me home, to the same empty little house, and I sat down to meditate, because the next morning was registration, and as national champion, my admission wasn't in question. If I couldn't get into Xiajing, nobody could. Late that night, a knock. Old Lu at the door, still glowing from the day, and behind him, someone I didn't know, radiating an aura so heavy the air itself felt like it might crush me. I didn't wait to find out if it was friendly. A skeleton snapped into place in front of me before I'd finished the thought. A very good response, the stranger said, and I knew the voice. The tension drained out of me, and I bowed. Greetings, Lord Godbai. Bai Yun pulled the pressure back in and stepped out of the dark, pleased. How did you know it was me? I told him I recognized his voice. He laughed. He'd met me on a replay screen. Now, in person, he liked me even better, because a level 16 kid whose first instinct under a killing aura is to put a wall of bone between himself and the threat, calmly, without flinching, is exactly the kind of kid the Empire wants. I poured them plain boiled water because that's what I had, and old Lu apologized for the house, explained my sister went to Xiajing last year and I live alone. Godbai took in the bare, half-broken little room, and I watched him do the math that everyone does. It is very rare for a house like this to produce a boy like this. He asked to see a skeleton. I summoned one. He glanced at the stats and asked how a creature with 250 per stat did what I did in the arena. And that was the moment I understood something. Nobody can see my talent. Outsiders only see the skeleton's base numbers. The real strength, the 10 times, lives in a layer only I can read. So when he asked what talent I'd awakened, I told him, Amplification. It multiplies all my skills. He nodded like he'd already guessed. Then he got to why he'd come. 2 things. First, my reward, which he'd brought early instead of waiting for the academy. Second, an invitation. There was a trial at Xiajing in 2 days, internal, for the academy's own people, and he wanted me in it. Though he'd only tell me the details once I agreed. I noticed the shape of it right away. He hoped I'd join, meaning it wasn't mandatory. The other participants were academy insiders, meaning I'd be the outsider. And the secrecy meant it was something well above a normal event. Caution first, always. He watched me weigh it and smiled, because caution was the right answer. He couldn't say much, but he told me the chance was rare, and that I hadn't earned it. He'd handed it to me personally. So I agreed. Refusing Godbai to his face is not a move a smart person makes. Then he opened his hand and the rewards appeared. First, 100,000 points, the national champion's prize, stacked on top of the 34,000 I'd earned, which put me over 130,000 points, more than a lot of senior students at Xiajing will ever see. Second, 2 skill scrolls, a beginner and an intermediate. Third, an extra prize for the battle space performance, 1 entry into the Shenxia Tower. He wouldn't explain the tower, just told me it was extremely valuable, especially the first visit, and to prepare carefully before I went. When Godbai tells you to prepare carefully, you listen. Then a teleport array bloomed on the floor, and we stepped into the light, and Shihai City fell away behind me. Old Lu stayed in the doorway of that dark little house, the house that made 2 Xiajing students in 2 years, one of them a national champion. And he looked off toward the capital with something soft in his eyes. Keep going, kid. Then he closed the door. The teleport was long. Xiajing is thousands of kilometers off, and even folding space takes time. And the trip left me pale and off balance, time and space sloshing around me while fragments of impossible scenery streaked past. I didn't make a sound. When my feet hit ground again, Godbai's opinion of me climbed another notch. Very good endurance. Then I looked up, and there it was. Xiajing Academy, a gate tens of meters tall, hundreds wide, magnificent, exact, brutal in a way that had nothing to do with size. And I felt small. I also felt danger, real lethal danger, coming off a door. Godbai patted my shoulder. This gate is a weapon as much as an entrance, he said. Even top experts pay a price to force it. It scanned me, opened without a sound, and let us in. The academy at night wasn't quiet. Energy pulsed from everywhere. Students grinding their skills in the dead of night. Light flaring in the dark over and over. They work like this all the time, Godbai said, casual. I watched the lights and thought about my own skills, which are somewhat hard to practice in a courtyard without leveling a building. He walked me to the residential area, told me most things here can be traded but never forced, handed me to a manager, and left, disappearing into the dark after a nod. The manager nearly jumped when I answered Godbai's goodbye with a flat single word, because who talks to Godbai like that? I didn't mean anything by it. That's just my volume. The manager was a guy named Jiang Tao, 2 years in, working a little job to earn a few points, and he gave me the whole tour of the economy. Up here, points are the real currency, more than gold. A 4-person dorm costs 500 points a month. A single, 2,000. The detached villas run tens of thousands. You can pay in gold instead, but they staple 2 extra zeros on the price to punish you for it. And you cannot buy points with gold, ever. That's a crime. Save your points, he told me. Everyone burns through them and regrets it. I told him I wanted a single room. He sighed the sigh of a man who has watched this movie before. Then he swiped my card to register it, and his eyes fell out of his head because the balance read 133,000 and change. No wonder you want a single, he said, staring at me like I was a walking bank. Since I got here, I've earned less than 10,000. Room 201, Building 8. Nobody enters without your say. Get some rest. Before he left, I asked him the only question that mattered. Have you heard of Lin Moyu? He thought, then shook his head. Never. Too many people here, he said. Ask the academic office tomorrow. He also told me to buy a communicator, and then he was gone. And for the first time in a very long day, it was quiet. The next morning, a knock. I opened the door, and standing there, pretty as anything, was Ning Yi. I actually let a little surprise onto my face, and then, worse, delight. What's wrong? She grinned. Don't recognize me? I told her I recognized her. She laughed, hauled me off to breakfast, and proceeded to grab an obscene amount of food, appetite fully intact. When I paid with points, 5 of them, she nearly shrieked. Points? Are you serious? You can use gold here. Never spend points if gold works. I told her I didn't have any gold. She smacked her forehead. Should have said so. I've got plenty. Never waste points. They're hard to earn. Then she relaxed because it was only 5 and lectured me one more time. Points should be spent wisely. So I decided to make good on a debt. I put the Goblin King's crystal core in her palm, the ruby red one, warm to the touch. This is for you. Her eyes went huge. She knew at a glance it was special, scanned it, and gasped. That's the core for a Goblin King ring, a boss accessory worth around 10 million gold. The exact thing Wang Zihao had locked down a public dungeon to grab for a fraction of the price. She took it without a fight, thrilled, said thanks. Just take it. She'd handed me a 10 million gold scroll for a few sweet potatoes once. This made us even, in the only currency that mattered between us, which was never really gold. She showed me the campus. It's enormous, and the public areas we walked are less than 1/10 of it. There's an imperial exchange that takes gold, and an academy exchange that only takes points. Skill training grounds you rent by the point. A library to rival the Empire's own, some of it free, and the good parts locked behind points. Without points, you go nowhere. With them, everything opens. I was starting to see why they matter more than coins. Then I went to the academic office and asked about my sister. They checked. Lin Moyu had an enrollment record. She was here, but every field after that was blank. No location, no status, nothing. I came out with something cold sitting in my chest. Ning Yi saw it and gently asked who Lin Moyu was. My sister, I said. And she's the whole reason I'm here. Ning Yi told me not to spiral, that blank records are actually normal, could mean a secret mission the school seals for a while, could mean she joined one of the semi-independent colleges inside the academy, the ones like Chuangshen and Shenlong and Feitian, where students go dark on the public system. So don't worry, she said, her smile warm as sunlight. Your sister probably just joined one of them. It helped. A little. I'd crossed 1,000 kilometers and the hardest gate in the Empire to reach her, and now that I was finally standing where she'd stood, she was a blank line in a file. The last time she contacted me was 3 months ago. 3 months of nothing. Maybe a mission. Maybe. I told myself I'd find her, because I was already here, and here was the only place the trail could end. Then Ning Yi said she hadn't come just to tour me around. She had a mission, and she walked me into a courtyard belonging to something called the Qianlong team. A tall woman greeted her, and Ning Yi introduced her as the captain, Sister Tao Zi, real name Jiang Tao Tao, level 23, Elf Knight. Then she introduced me, warmly, proudly. Lin Moyu, this year's national champion. Jiang Tao Tao took it in stride. The others didn't. Only level 17, someone scoffed. Even if you're bringing someone, you can't just grab any random nobody off the street. And in walked the source. A young man with a staff and a chin so high, it must strain his neck. Ning Yi's face darkened. Ling Zhen, watch your mouth. Moyu's the national champion. Ling Zhen sneered. Just a national champion? Compared to us, that's nothing. I've met national champions before. They were all worthless. He looked me over like I was gum on his shoe. Your name's Lin Moyu, right? I know Godbai brought you in. Don't think that means you can do whatever you want. In the Qianlong team, we value strength. We'll drag you along for this trial, but stay quiet, stay out of the way, and don't slow us down, or I'll be the first one angry with you. I'll be honest, I've met arrogant people. Xia Shui is arrogant, and she's the actual eldest daughter of an actual great clan. But she never sounded like this. So I asked the guy a simple, sincere question. Idiot? His staff burst into flame. Ning Yi stepped in front of me, and Jiang Tao Tao stepped in front of him. And the captain's one word put the fire out. Ling Zhen, stop. So that's where things stood. On my second day at the place I'd bled and crossed a country to reach. My sister, erased to a blank line. A secret trial in one day, run by God by, stuffed with Academy elites who thought a national champion was beneath them. A staff-swinging peacock who just decided I was luggage. And somewhere, 1,000 kilometers behind me, a demon on a broken blood moon, whispering that it would remember my name, that it would be waiting for me when I came to the abyss. I came here to find one person. Instead, I found a whole academy of people who had no idea what I was, standing between me and every answer I wanted. They were about to find out. All of them. The trial was the next day. Before that, Ning Yi dragged me shopping, because that's what she does, and I finally turned my dungeon loot into money. Sold the whole West Sea Mine Hall to the exchange, bronze weapons, materials, all of it, and walked out with 230,000 gold. Not a fortune, but enough to breathe. Weapons here run from iron up through bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond, each grade wrapped in its own myths. And my bronze junk was entry level, 10,000 apiece. It added up. She made me buy potions. Red ones heal, blue ones restore mana, and every pro burns through both. 10 of each, 20,000 gold. Then 200,000 more on a pair of beginner skill scrolls, which left me with about 10 grand and a new appreciation for how fast this city eats money. 10,000 gold would have kept me alive for years back in Zihai. Here, it's lunch. We bought a communicator too, a little watch, and Ning Yi added herself as my only contact. Now I can bother you anytime, anywhere, she said, delighted. She was not lying. Turns out the reason Ling Zhen hates me isn't personal taste. The trial had a spot reserved for his younger brother, and God Bai's interference bumped the brother to give me the seat. So in his eyes, I stole his family slot. Fine, that's a reason. It's still not my problem. Back in my dorm, I burned the first scroll. Nothing. Sometimes a scroll gives you a skill you already have. Sometimes it gives you nothing at all. And the more skills you own, the more scrolls you'll burn for each new one. Normal. I fed it the second scroll, and this time my body went hot. And that little spark of joy went off in my chest. New skill, slow curse. On paper, cute. Curse enemies in a 5-meter radius, cut their speed 5% for 1 minute. With my talent stapled on, that's a 100-meter radius, 100% speed cut, movement and attack both, for 20 full minutes. 100%. It doesn't slow the enemy down, it turns the enemy off. And it opened a whole new lane for me, because now my kit had 3 legs. Summon, attack, curse, weaken the enemy, and I get safer and stronger at the same time. Another god skill out of a garbage scroll. At this point, I've stopped being surprised. Morning came with Ning Yi's voice through the communicator, telling me the sun was high and to come eat. She bought a mountain of food, because last time she nearly starved, and only my sweet potato saved her. I paid, quietly, 10,000 gold for a month of groceries. And we headed to the Qianlong courtyard where the whole squad was waiting. Captain Jiang Taotao ran the roll call, all business. Prophet named Duan Gao, level 20. Elf Elder Healer named Miao Yu, level 20. Ling Zhen, level 21, Warlock, sang his name like it cost him teeth. Ning Yi, 19, Shadow Assassin. Me. And her, Elf Knight, 23. Then she laid down the law. We unite for this trial. Anyone who drags us down answers to me. Even Ling Zhen shut up for that one. Then a giant teleport array opened in the sky, and Shenxia Tower itself, the real one, the tower I hadn't seen since I arrived, appeared overhead and beamed us out. The teleport ran long, 10+ seconds, which meant the trial was far. When my feet hit ground, I heard the ocean, and I knew that sound in my bones, because Zihai City sits on the sea. Ning Yi arrived green in the face and clamped onto my arm, hating long-distance teleports with her whole heart. Jiang Taotao glanced at me, surprised, because I had 0 symptoms, and quietly bumped her opinion of me up a notch. Maybe this kid teleports a lot, she thought. If she only knew. We were on an island, Mermaid Island. A light curtain wrapped almost the whole thing, and through it you could see the monsters waiting. Everyone got a quest stone, and the second I touched mine, I understood the job. Fight to the center of the island, into the Mermaid Tier's dungeon on the peak, kill the boss on Nightmare, take the Mermaid's Tier it drops. 3 rules. Team average level 20 or under, which is exactly why they needed a low-level body, which is exactly the seat I took from Ling Zhen's brother. The tier only drops on Nightmare, and it only drops 3 per year, so only the top 3 teams to clear it go home with 1. And here's the wrinkle that made it a real trial. Mermaid Island isn't in the Empire's territory. Every year, other nations show up too. 10 Qianlong teams came. We were Team 2. And we weren't just racing our own school, we were racing foreigners for 3 prizes. Duan Gao buffed the squad. Halos everywhere. everywhere, every stat up 30%, and I felt it wash over me and had a thought. What happens if a prophet buffs a skeleton? So I summoned one to test. The temperature dropped. Duan Gao's hand shook so hard he dropped the buff, and Miao Yu shrieked and hid behind the captain. I asked, politely, if he could buff the skeleton too. He tried. The halo slid off it like water off glass. Several times, nothing stuck. Probably my talent already overwrites anything that week. No loss. Ling Zhen sneered anyway. Can't even buff it. What a waste. And my skeleton turned its head and looked at him with red eyes and flickering soul fire. And Ling Zhen took a fast step back with his staff already lit, because for 1 second, he genuinely felt his life was in danger. Good instinct. Wrong fight. The captain wedged herself between us, told us to save it for after, and the trial horn blew. We passed through the water curtain as one unit, average level exactly 20, and stepped onto Mermaid Island. It's a swamp that smells like a fish market left in the sun. Wet air, fishy in every breath, the kind of humidity that makes you feel like you're wearing the ocean. Ning Yi Yi covered her nose and openly hated it. Ahead, a peak in the center with a waterfall pouring off it and a spinning underwater vortex dungeon at the top. Zhang Taotao took point and told everyone to skip fights where we could and just move. We couldn't skip much. Mermaid soldiers, level 19, then 21, ambushing out of the pools. The team actually fought like a team, Zhang Taotao taunting and charging, Ning Yi Yi flanking for a fatal strike, Miao Yu freezing things, Duan Gao holding the line. Solid, coordinated, exactly what you'd expect from Xiajing raised elites. I watched, mostly. This was their trial, their drops, their captain collecting. I didn't need the scraps, but the closer we got, the thicker the monsters, and Zhang Taotao did the math out loud. 3 hours to the peak at this rate. Too slow. Then we hit the foot of the mountain, and it was a wall. Hundreds of mermaid monsters packed into the pools around the only path up, all level 22, above Miao Yu's control cap, which meant her binds might just fail. Clearing it honestly meant an hour we didn't have. Rushing it meant getting swarmed and surrounded. Zhang Taotao was stuck. I found the shortest line up in about 3 seconds. I'll do it. Ling Zhen laughed on reflex. You? What can a level 17 do? I'd walk the whole island without lifting a finger, so as far as he knew, I was luggage. Ning Yi Yi told him to shut his stinking mouth. The captain, who'd started to pay attention, asked what I planned. Use the skeletons to bait the monsters off the path, I said. Her eyes lit up, because she'd already clocked a rival team doing the same thing with summons. Do it, she said. So I sent a skeleton in, and it blew past everyone's expectations for speed, crossing dozens of meters in a blink. And it did the thing skeletons do best. It aggroed a pool, ignored the swings, and ran, dragging the mob to the next pool. And the next, gathering a comet tail of angry fish, over 100 of them, streaming behind one skeleton, further and further from the path. The captain called the go, and we walked up a road that had cleared itself. Then I recalled the skeleton, and the mob lost its target and stood there blinking. Everyone was thrilled. Even Duan Gao and Miao Yu thanked me. Ling Zhen, of course, had a note. Why didn't you do that from the start? We'd be up the mountain already. I turned and looked at him like the idiot he was. He's a mage. Mages are supposed to be sharp. This one looked broken. Ning Yi Yi told him again to shut it, and I said quietly, the same 3 words I'd end up saying to him one more time before the day was done. This is the last time. Here's the thing I didn't say out loud. I could have deleted that entire wall of monsters with a couple of corpse explosions and saved us the whole song and dance. I didn't, for one reason. Ling Zhen. We were a team, so a chain of corpse explosions would split all that experience evenly. And I was not about to hand free levels to a guy who'd spent all morning spitting on me. My patience has a floor. Anywhere else, a guy who talked to me like that would already be a crater. Here, he just got the slow version of losing. Then the mountain screamed. A tide of monsters came pouring down from the peak, and the teams that had climbed ahead of us came scrambling back down in front of it. And out front, leading the whole avalanche on purpose, ran a man in cherry blossom robes. Not Empire, not Xiajing. Sakura country, Zhang Taotao said, and his class was Onmyoji, a legendary profession she called insidious for good reason. He threw 2 talismans that burst into giant phantoms, Shikigami, and the Shikigami dove and aggroed every pool at the base. And half the retreating Tianlong students got swallowed by monsters and forced to hit their escape stones, which teleports you out and ends your trial in failure. He just knocked a chunk of our people out of the run without landing a single real hit. Then he floated up on his Shikigami, laughed, told us the dungeon belonged to Great Sakura Country, and vanished. 300+ monsters now clogged the only way up. The team started arguing about who could possibly sacrifice themselves to drag that many mobs. Nobody volunteered, because pulling hundreds of monsters is a level 40 stunt, not a level 21. Then everyone looked at me. I sent a skeleton. It aggroed and ran, and a third of the wall peeled off after it. Then a second skeleton, another third. The base cleared, just the path left, and the crowd lost their minds. Well done, bro. I'll take you drinking after this. I'll follow you into dungeons forever. Ning Yi looked happier hyping me up than she ever looks about herself. And Ling Zhen stood there with a face like he'd bitten a rat, watching a level 17 nobody solve the problem his whole team couldn't. A third skeleton dragged the last of the path clear, and we ran. And the whole crowd of stranded students ran up behind us. Up top, the onmyoji who'd bragged we were stuck for hours watched us crest the peak in minutes with an expression I'd describe as constipated disbelief. Both sides hit the summit at once, glanced at each other, and lunged for the dungeon door. Then it got loud. Arrow rain from the Sakura archers, spells from their mages, our people shielding and healing and firing back, knights slamming into knights, no formation, just a brawl at a doorway two teams both wanted. Two skeletons popped up to wall off me and Ning Yi, and I told the crowd, if he lays a hand on you, hit back hard, don't give him any face. Both sides burned through their skills and their mana until the fight petered out into a standoff. Each side 50 meters off the door, nobody able to close the gap. A truce nobody agreed to. And that's the exact moment Ling Zhen picked to stab his own team in the back. Half our squad had been teleported out at the base, so the group was gutted, and everyone was scrambling to recruit replacement mages and healers off the other stranded teams. Mages were suddenly the hottest commodity on the mountain, so Ling Zhen, who is a mage, leveraged it. He pointed at me. Either he leaves or I leave. Even Duan Gao and Miao Yu were stunned. Duan Gao told him he'd gone too far. Miao Yu pointed out that without me, nobody would have made it up the mountain at all. Ling Zhen shrugged it off. That's his business. I don't care. One sentence. Him or me. Ning Yi called him a dog to his face. He ignored her and told the captain to choose. Now, a warlock damage dealer at a dungeon door, when you're already short on damage, is leverage. Without a damage dealer, you cannot clear a nightmare boss. He knew it. He picked the worst possible moment on purpose. And Zhang Taotao stood there genuinely torn, because on paper, keeping the mage and dropping the level 17 luggage was the correct call. Ning Yi opened her mouth. I pulled her back, gently. I knew what she'd say. If I went, she'd go, and I wasn't going to make her choose. So I said nothing. I let the captain decide. She looked at Ling Zhen. You should leave the group. He actually thought he'd misheard. Captain, if I leave, your trial's ruined. Don't you want to into Xiajing Academy? And Zhang Taotao said the thing that told me exactly who she was. You want in. But you've forgotten my profession. Elf Knight. Knights have beliefs. Everyone on this mountain got here because of Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu is not the one leaving. Ling Zhen went cold, said, don't regret it, and walked off to sell himself to another team because mages were in demand and he'd land on his feet. Then I stood up. Let's go into the dungeon. Zhang Taotao blinked. We're in a standoff. We can't even get near the door. I walked toward it anyway, Ning Yi skipping after me with her usual blind faith, because Lin Moyu said we can get in. So we can. Duan Gao and Miao Yu hesitated, then followed the captain, who figured worst case she'd just escape stone out. And at least with her along, nobody would dare start a killing. 5 of us walked at the dungeon. The Sakura side reacted instantly, knocking arrows, raising staffs, screaming at us to get back or eat a volley. I kept walking. The captain gripped her shield, sweating. Our own stranded crowd yelled at us to come back. Something bad's about to happen. Then decided to have our backs anyway, because they owed me the whole climb. Ling Zhen sneered from the sidelines. Idiot, looking to die? The Sakura team let their skills fly. Arrows, spells, everything raining down. I pointed one finger. 20 skeletons snapped into a shield around the 5 of us, and every attack died against bone. Jaws dropped on both sides. So many. How? What class is this? Why won't these worn-out skeletons take damage? I ignored all of it. Enter the dungeon. Nightmare difficulty. Zhang Taotao, staring at me being that calm under a barrage, chose to just believe and selected it. The 5 of us vanished, and the standoff resumed behind us like nothing happened, because neither side could actually take the door. Inside, the captain finally breathed. We're really in. Then the worry came back, because we had no damage on Nightmare, with a level 17 and a level 19 assassin and no warlock. Ning Yi just grinned. Don't worry, we've got Moyu. He's level 17, the captain said. His skeleton's very strong, Ning Yi said, which was true and also the understatement of the year. First monster, a 2-meter mermaid. Mermaid Elite Warrior, level 21, enhanced elite, over 2,000 strength. The kind of thing that takes a full team a minute or two to grind. My skeletons rushed it, a few berserk strikes, and it hit the floor in about 3 seconds. 10,000 experience dumped into a startled Duan Gao mid-buff. He stared at the notification. What just happened? Zhang Taotao stared at me, not understanding yet. It's gone already, she muttered, like a flash sale. Ning Yi said, matter of fact, I told you the silent skeleton's very strong, and jogged ahead. Duan Gao yelped that he hadn't even finished the buff. Forget the buff, the captain called. Just keep up, and chased after me. 20 skeletons swept the dungeon. Nothing lived past 5 seconds. The monsters were thin and scattered, so I just dragged them into knots and corpse explosioned them. And Zhang Taotao, a knight who has never once in her life gotten to do nothing during a dungeon, walked along at the back doing nothing, thinking to herself that Necromancer was a pretty impressive class. Understatement number 2. At the end of the tunnel, a cave, and coiled in the middle, a black python 30 meters long. Mermaid Queen's pet snake, elite boss, level 23, and the highest stats I'd seen yet, agility 5500, faster than my skeletons. Zhang Taotao moved to tank it. No need, I said. My skeletons dove in. And for the first time the boss was fast enough to slap half of them out of the air and whip the rest away, too slippery to pin. The captain fretted. It's too agile. What do we do? It's nothing. Slow curse. A red web fell over the cave, a shackle bloomed on the snake's skull, and its speed dropped by half. The talent turns that little 5% nudge into a full stop, and just like that, the fastest boss in the dungeon couldn't run. My skeletons pinned it and opened it up. It coiled a few of them and squeezed until the bones creaked, which sounds awful and does nothing to a thing with 5400 constitution. And the trapped skeletons just kept swinging inside the coils. It sprayed venom, gagged the whole cave, chipped a few skeletons, killed none. 2 minutes and the 30-meter python was a corpse. Zhang Taotao's lip twitched. Is this curse? She asked, recognizing the pattern. Necromancer, I reminded her. Summoner and mage in one body. Past the cave, the Mermaid Queen's palace, and the fishy stink vanished into perfume. The whole place suddenly clean and bright. And packed. 60 patrol squads, 3 mermaids each, 180 enhanced elites, more than a full team could ever handle head-on. Zhang Taotao's plan would have been to pick off 3 at a time in the corners for an hour. Ning Yi looked at the swarm and asked what we'd do. I felt the good kind of happy. More monsters, more fun. Simple. 20 skeletons out, aggro the whole palace, gather all 180 into one screaming knot, drag them back to 60 meters out. Cover your ears, I told Ning Yi. She covered them. Before the others understood, one skeleton killed a merman, and the corpse went up, and then the chain went. And a series of blasts turned 180 elites into experience and dust and a barrage of notifications the whole team drowned in. The palace gates ground open. Duan Gao, Miao Yu, and the captain had just experienced shared experience farming for the first time, and they were vibrating. Out came the Mermaid Queen. Noble, elegant, genuinely beautiful, 5 meters tall. And the second she appeared, Ning Yi and Zhang Taotao went glassy-eyed and started drifting toward her. Built-in charm. I hauled Ning Yi back by the collar. Miao Yu shouted deception technique and hit everyone with clarity, and the two of them snapped out of it, shaken. After all, the captain said, catching her breath, she's a boss. Of course she has tricks. The queen took one look at her dead soldiers and screamed. And the scream was a shockwave that blew every corpse across the room before I could detonate them. Fine, new plan. My skeletons charged her. Detection spell reading level 24, 6,000 constitution. Faster and tougher than my skeletons by the numbers. A level 17 crew fighting a level 24 boss. She swept her trident and knocked skeletons flying, cracked their bones, and Zhang Taotao tensed to jump in when they faltered. No need, I said, and dropped slow curse. Half speed. Then she screamed her charm again, the queen's cry. And this time, Miao Yu's clarity was too low level to break it, and Ning Yi and the captain glazed over again. Doesn't matter, I said. As long as I'm not charmed, we're fine. My mental stat's too high to touch, and my skeletons have no minds to break. No mercy for a pretty face. I held Ning Yi back, Miao Yu held the captain, and the skeletons never stopped swinging. I dropped the other 88 skeletons I'd been holding in reserve, and the team realized I'd never shown them the full army, that I could have deleted the whole mountain of monsters at the base whenever I felt like it. 100 skeletons buried the queen. 3 minutes, and the last boss fell with a mournful cry. Mermaid Queen down. 2 silver weapons, a big step up from bronze, and 1 mermaid's tear. Ning Yi jumped up cheering, 1 step closer to Xiajing Academy. Zhang Taotao clenched her fist and thanked me. Meant it. Because without me this trial was impossible. And Miao Yu said the quiet part. The worst one was Ling Zhen. Nobody argued. Then I did the math. Half an hour gone. The standoff outside was probably still frozen. 3 tears dropped total. We had 1. Yi, you got a cooldown amulet? Her eyes sparkled because she got it instantly. Of course. We walked out of the dungeon under a skeleton escort. And the Sakura side jeered. Only half an hour. Guess they couldn't win and bailed. Look at those meat shield skeletons. They would never believe anyone clears Nightmare in 30 minutes. Our side just breathed relief that we came back alive. Then, in front of everyone, Ning Yi cracked her cooldown amulet, the same rare item I'd only ever seen in Xia Xue's hand, zeroed the dungeon timer. And the 2 of us walked back in. The whole mountain lost its mind. How did they get back in? 2 people can't even clear normal. Is she really burning a cooldown amulet? Is this what rich and reckless looks like? Inside, just the 2 of us, I made good on the promise from a forest a lifetime ago. You said you'd help me level up, she beamed. Didn't think it'd be this fast. A promise is a promise, I told her. She made me swear to keep carrying her, not just once, and I said okay. Then I ran the whole dungeon again. Dragon chain bomb, snake in a blast, palace in a blast, queen instant this time because I kept the corpses ready and hit her before she could scream. 10 minutes, start to finish. Ning Yi dinged level 20, stretched and grinned. And I finally understood that this girl who was level 19 when I met her at level 10 is just aggressively, world-class lazy about grinding. 2nd tier. Out, amulet, back in. The Sakura side watched us bounce in and out and could not compute it. That's not how you use a cooldown amulet. What a waste. Ling Zhen, somewhere in the crowd, was screaming inside that this was impossible. 3rd run, 8 minutes and 58 seconds. And Ning Yi cheerfully announced she'd beaten her own time by 30 seconds because she treats a national trial like a speedrun leaderboard. 3rd tier. Then the dungeon vanished. The vortex trembled and blinked out, and the whole mountain went still, because a dungeon only disappears when all 3 tiers are gone. Someone did the math out loud. That person went in 3 times. Did he get all 3 tiers? Did 2 people just clear Nightmare 3 times? Is that even possible? The facts were standing right there. The door was gone. There would be no more tiers this year, and we had all of them. The Sakura side did not take it well. Hand over the tiers or you're not leaving, they pressed forward, furious. And then their trump card finally dropped his disguise. The Onmyoji floated down on a Shikigami, aura of a level 30+ expert, legendary class, and told Jiang Taotao to hand over the tiers or die. He summoned a 3-meter snake-headed axe god Shikigami and threw it at me, sneering that our attacks could only tickle it. Qianlong hit it with everything and did nothing. 5 skeletons, 1 leap, berserk strike. The axe god that shrugged off a whole team's spells popped like a soap bubble and dissolved into green smoke. So weak, I actually thought. Everyone else thought the opposite, that my skeletons were monsters, because a legendary Shikigami just died in 2 swings. Killing a Shikigami backlashes its master, and the Onmyoji coughed blood, went pale, and I burned his screaming second Shikigami with soul fire, while 2 more skeletons quietly gutted it. He hemorrhaged, hauled his last Shikigami up into the sky out of my range, and stared down at me with pure fear and hate. He couldn't scan me through the shield badge, but he already knew, level 17, Necromancer, awakened talent. And he decided the most important thing he could do was survive to carry that intel home, that the Empire had grown something dangerous. He fled without looking back, 2 Shikigami poor. 10 skeletons walked to the center of the field, glowing bluish-white, soulfire flickering, cold wind rolling off them. Not one Sakura pro dared move. If their legendary Onmyoji got run off that easy, what were they going to do? Then a skeleton took 1 step toward them, sword swaying. And the whole Sakura team's nerve collapsed, and the first one bolted, and then all of them, screaming down the mountain. Our people strolled back laughing about how a horde of foreign pros got scared off by a few skeletons, and every one of them kept sneaking looks at me, the silent mystery kid who killed a legendary summon like swatting a fly. Nobody could place me. Ruthless and quiet, they said. The way he killed those Shikigami, where did this expert come from? Only Ling Zhen wasn't laughing. He watched me the whole way back with hate. And worse, regret. Because if he hadn't forced the captain's hand, he'd have been one of the people going home with a tear. Now, he had nothing, and he muttered it to himself like a curse. We're not done. Jiang Taotao turned in the quest. Shenxia Tower's phantom lit the sky, scanned the tier and the stone, and the giant voice rang out. Trial complete. Begin return. The light took us home to Xiajing Academy. Everyone alive, everyone buzzing, and every conversation circled back to the same name. If not for Lin Moyu, we'd still be frozen at that door and probably lost the whole dungeon to a legendary onmyoji. The dean himself dropped by, a level 73rd awakening expert who walks on empty air, the kind of power less than 1% of professionals ever reach. And even I felt real respect looking at him, and he told us what a trial is actually for, not the result, the process. Face your fear, purify it, keep your belief in winning. Results would come to our communicators later. So that was my first trial. I walked in as luggage a peacock wanted thrown out, and I walked out as the reason his team went home a legend, and he went home with nothing. Ning Yi hit 20. Jiang Taotao got the thing she needed for her run at Xiajing Academy, and I got a clean, simple lesson about this place. Up here, everyone has a rare class, and the best education and resources I never had. And none of it matters, because I'm the one thing none of them can measure or copy. But I didn't cross 1,000 kilometers, and the hardest gate in the empire for a trophy, or to make a warlock cry, or even to farm a queen for her tears. I came for one person, and she's still a blank line in a file. Xiajing Academy, the place the very best of the best disappear into. The place Jiang Taotao is grinding trials to reach. Keeps coming up every time I ask where the strong ones go. Maybe that's where my sister went dark. Maybe that's where the trail ends. Either way, it's the next door, and I've never met a door that stayed shut once I decided to walk through it. So I'd keep climbing, trial by trial, level by level, and it turned out the trail to my sister ran straight up the mountain I was already on. Back at Qianlong, the loot got split, and I insisted the 2 solo runs counted as team drops and shared everything evenly, because that's how a team works, even a team with a hole where a warlock used to be. Ning Yi tried to hand me her whole share, claiming her storage was full, which is the worst lie ever told by anyone. And I let her, because arguing with her is like arguing with weather. She turned into Teacher Ning on the walk to the exchange and taught me something I actually needed. Learn all your basic class skills before your second awakening, or you'll waste an intermediate scroll re-rolling a basic one. And intermediates cost 100 times more. As the only necromancer alive, I have no skill list, no reference, no mentor, just scrolls, and a lot of them, until I've dug up everything my class can do. Good to know before I burn 10 million gold learning a skill I could have gotten for 100 grand. Then my communicator rang, and a voice I knew told me to come to the academic office. Godbai was sitting in the director's chair like he owned it, which functionally he does. He'd watched the trial replay, said I did great. Then he told me what a mermaid's tear actually is, the thing we'd bled a legendary onmyoji for, the thing most people on that island didn't even understand. It raises your odds of awakening a talent during second awakening. Talent awakening is a 1 in a million lottery, and it turns out you can put a thumb on the scale, and the tear is one of the cheaper thumbs. I already awakened mine at job change, so the number didn't hit me the way he wanted, and I watched him look faintly disappointed that I didn't gasp. Old habit, nothing shows. Then he got to the good part. Crime gets punished, merit gets rewarded, so name your reward. So I named it. Can you help me find someone? He laughed, said he knew I'd ask, said I'd already checked the office. Then he told me the thing I crossed a country for. My sister, Lin Moyu, joined the academy last year, and at the start of this year, she joined Xiajing Academy. Every Xiajing student's file goes blank. That's why the trail died. And that, finally, cracked my face. Xiajing, the most impossible door in the most impossible school. The one Jiang Taotao grinds trials just to dream about. The one Ning Yi kept circling like it was sacred. My sister didn't just walk through it. She walked through it in under half a year, which meant she went from level 16 to over 30 in 3-4 months, a climb that eats a normal pro a full year. And she did it while I was still killing rabbits in a starter dungeon. I stood there doing the math, and I could not make it work. Unless she solos nightmare dungeons like I do, and people like that don't exist. Except, apparently, in my family. Godbai couldn't tell me one word about Xiajing. Rules. If I wanted answers, I'd have to get in myself and ask her face to face. So I asked the only question that mattered. How do I join? He'd already prepped the file, flicked it to my communicator, and told me my sister reveal wasn't